ruled by a dictator, Salazar. He said, no, you can burn Goa, but never give it to it. So the idea, you see, from his work came that if we can tell the people what we Goans think to the world, why can we not tell Goans in Goa what we think and what is happening?
How did that communication happen?
Yeah, this was a medium. But the medium was the radio, no? So the government of India, when we suggested to them, they said, no, we, according to the Geneva Convention, we cannot do this from our country. At the end of it, when Goa was liberated, we went through some Portuguese records. And they said, in fact, they was the best certificate. They said this voice has hit us from close range. So we prepared some leaflets in Portuguese and dropped those leaflets from the skies.
I mean, you have such a long and eventful life. How do you feel about the India that we live in today?
Very, very disappointing.
Live from Goa, we are with Libia Lobo Sardesai. You won't guess what her age is, 101, going on 102, the first woman to ever become a lawyer in Goa. Welcome. Tell us something about yourself.
Welcome to you also on a great day like this.
Please tell us a little bit about what inspired you to become a lawyer.
Well, I don't know whether it was inspiration, but anyway, my youth was such that I was a witness to the independence movement, the freedom movement in Mumbai, because I studied in Mumbai. And I saw the leaders, I saw people dying for their country, and that impressed me a lot. So when I grew up, and also I found that they were all lawyers. The leaders were all lawyers. So that impressed me, and perhaps I say, I do not know, that laid the seed for me.
Wonderful. So how did you end up in Goa?
I am a Goan.
Okay.
By birth. I only went to Bombay at the age of 4 for education purposes. And I studied in Bombay right through my law. And then when I finished law, then all those memories of the leaders came to my mind. The struggle for freedom was going on. So naturally, I could not help it, but I was directed by not by my will, but by my natural inclination towards freedom to leave my law. And my first brief of law, I took as a freedom of Goa.
Oh my goodness. Do tell us a little bit about it. That must have been under Portuguese rule.
Yeah, Goa was under Portuguese rule, and it so happened that in 1954, there was a satyagraha by the Goans, and the Portuguese did not know what was satyagraha, so they shot at them, and they killed them. They did not allow them to come, nor did they hear them. That ended in I won't say a fiasco, but in martyrdom. Then the government of India put a blockade to reiterate, and all the border was sealed. Nothing could come. There was no human traffic or goods traffic coming to Goa like before. So Goa was completely cut off. And the people were cut off and losing their morale in Goa. Then in 1955, they decided that the Goans are, why should the Goans go to Satyagraha, do Satyagraha? It's a matter for the whole country. So why should we not all go and help them? Let's have a chain Satyagraha. So Aruna Safali, who was a leader at that time, she organized what was called the Goa Vimochan Samiti. And she invited everybody who wanted to offer Satyagraha for freedom of Goa to enlist themselves. There was a very big meeting at the Kawasji Jingar Hall at Bombay. And about 3,000 people had attended because they all wanted. They said it will be a chain Satyagraha. You come and give your names and then you will go on your turn. So everybody was enthused and came to the meeting to offer to register themselves. As the meeting was going on, within 10 minutes of the meeting, who was that? That was the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly in Maharashtra. I don't know where. Oh, Mr. Kunte was presiding. And he received a note from somebody within 10 minutes. When he read the note, he began to discuss with his people who were sitting on the dais. And they decided, they were talking very animatedly, you see, and surprised. So we were wondering what has happened, whether some bad news has come to them or something of the sort. But we did not know. We were. Then, within 10 minutes, after 10 minutes, he announced the satyagraha is abandoned, or rather stopped, because the Prime Minister said that people here, the satyagraha had started actually, the first batch, they were also killed. Parliament was on. And in the Parliament, when he heard that and he made that announcement, he stopped the satyagraha. So the satyagraha was stopped, and we were all dismayed because we had all gone with such animation and hopes. You understand that we are all going to offer satyagraha sometime, and we are going to free Goa. This did not happen. So the meeting ended, and that was all. Then there was no other alternative. What do we do? How to connect to the Goans in Goa? We could not keep them abandoned like that because we did not know how it would turn out in the end. And the Portuguese here were continuing their anti-India propaganda and their atrocities over here. Even if you said Jai Hind, you were put in jail. You were arrested. You could not even do that. Freedom we had in the sense that we could do what we like, but not politically. That's all. Everything was censored. Even an invitation card of a wedding had to be censored. You could not write or publish anything without being censored. That was the state of freedom. Well, it was peaceful because you could not do anything. And we called it like the peace of the grave.
Amazing. I'm almost tempted to say it reminds me of today, but I will not switch to today so soon. Let me come back to the case that you were talking about, that you filed a petition for the freedom of Goa. Can you tell us?
I didn't file a petition. I took that as my brief for the freedom of Goa.
All right. It was your brief for yourself.
Yeah, for myself, yeah. So I had just done my law. And I said, what am I going to do now? Go and fight for what? I'll let me fight for freedom. And while the movement in Bombay was going on after the independence of India, in Bombay, but we could not do anything from Bombay. So the point was how to get to the Goans. We could not connect in any way because there was no traffic. And at that time, there were no telephones and things like that. So what we have today, all those things were not there at that time. And so then they decided, I don't know, because the people who had come to offer satyagraha all worked on this matter, you see. And they said, now, Vaman Sardesai, who was one of the freedom fighters, who was arrested here and had gone to India, was at Sevagram. He had come to offer satyagraha. So he was working for the External Services Division in Bombay, All India Radio. He was recording the views of the Goans in Bombay, sending it to the External Services Division of All India Radio in Delhi, and they would beam it to the world. So the idea, you see, from his work came that if we can tell the people what we Goans think to the world, why can we not tell Goans in Goa what we think and what is happening?
And so how did that communication happen?
Yeah, this was a medium. But the medium was the radio, no? Huh? So the government of India, when we suggested to them, though the government of India was instructed that Goa should be free, not violently or anything, peacefully, and this was a peaceful method, they said, no, we, according to the Geneva Convention, we cannot do this from our country. So you don't do it from here. But we could not go across the border because there was a blockade. Nor could we go into Goa and do it. So then we decided, somebody, you see, not me particularly, there were people, educated people, because they had come from all over. People like, I can't get so many names now, they were big people. So they were veteran freedom fighters of Goa who were with us. You see, it was their, what you say, inspiration for us. Somehow or the other, they said, let us have a radio. But how we should have our own radio? But how do we have a radio? Where do you get the transmitters? But another colony of, another pocket, you may say, of the Portuguese called Nagar Haveli was between Goa and in between, in a pocket in India. That had been freed in 1954 by some nationalists. There was a nationalist there who was the appointed administrator. I shouldn't call him a nationalist, I'm sorry, he's a patriot. So when he heard that we are trying to do something, he sent word to Bombay saying that the Portuguese had taken 2 transmitters to that place, for what reason they know. And he could loan us those transmitters. So somebody went and brought those transmitters, and they were quite fit because of 1.5 kilowatt. And they said these are perfect, and they were imported, and it was like a gift from the Portuguese. So we used it. It's like fighting with their own weapons. So they sort of whatever they had to do, they fixed it, the wavelength, etc., etc. Then came, where do you put it on? Whose head do you put it? Where do you put it? You can't do it anywhere in India, the government said. Can't do anywhere in India, then where do we go? So then they suggested, all right, there's a no man's land. We'll go to the no man's land. And that's how we reached a place called, it was not actually a no man's land, but it was a forest area belonging to the Raja of Savantwadi. He was a patriot and he was interested that Goa should be free because it's just adjoining Goa.
So ultimately, did you succeed with the translations, or what do you think about the power of the media in those days?
So we went there to Amboli, but and we had to be incognito. It was an underground radio station. So, but there the people were coming and going. There's a road going to Savantwadi and all that. So it was not very safe for us. So we shifted from there to, and it was full of leopards. It was very dangerous for us. Actually, one was killed when I was returning from the broadcast in the night. And so we shifted from there and went to Castle Rock. It was right up on the hill. That place was deserted because the railway connection had been stopped. The village was desolate completely. And we went there. It was up 2,000 meters on the height. Nobody was there, not so. And we were there incommunicado because we couldn't even see a human being there. Nobody was there. No village. That's where. So we worked from there. Every day we had our broadcast twice a day. First, when we were in Amboli, we had 3 broadcasts.
Did your messages reach the state of Goa?
Of course, we raised their morale. Not only reach, at the end of it, when Goa was liberated, we went through some Portuguese records, and they said, in fact gave us the best certificate. They said this voice has hit us from close range, and it was the actually I can't remember. It hurt us the most.
So did the people of Goa welcome you when the liberation happened?
Well, they could not welcome me because I was not on the road. You see, it was an army operation. They welcomed the army. I was only with the army during the operation, not in Goa, but in Belgaum. We left the border and we came because the border was not safe. And we stayed in Belgaum. And then we collaborated with the army for all those days. And even before the operation, we sent a message of the government of India to the governor of Goa, saying that his time is up now. He should surrender, think of packing up, and all that sort of thing. But he wouldn't reply, you see, what he was going to do. Actually, he didn't reply because he sent a message to his superiors in Portugal. And you know, Portugal was ruled by a dictator, Salazar. So Salazar was a very, I wouldn't say hesitant, he was what do you call that? So he said, not hesitant is a too mild a word for him. Obstinate, absolutely. He said, no, you can burn Goa, but never give it to India. This was his attitude. And the governor, therefore, could not do anything, could not deal with the message in any way. All he did was to mine the bridges, and all the places, so that if the army came, it would affect them, you see, that way. But they had no idea of the army, of the Indian army. They had only about 2,000 troops here. How could they face an army which came with 5,000 troops? Not 2,000, 50,000 troops. How could they be? And with all that.
So you were telling me that you came back from Mumbai to
not immediately.
Goa.
So on the day of liberation, first we were broadcasting hour by hour the, what you may say, the itinerary of the army. And in the evening, the commander-in-chief, General Chaudhry, told me at about 6 o'clock, he said, the Portuguese have surrendered. It was too soon to hear that, because we had not expected that there would be no reply from them or whatever, no opposition. Anyway, when I heard that news, I don't know whether there was any ground under my feet, because I was completely, I said, this is what I've been telling Goa, that telling the Goans that Goa will be free. And now it is free. So he says, what are you going to do? I said, now who's going to listen to me? I am out of Goa and they are in Goa. They know more than I do because they are in Loco. What am I going to tell them? I've only got to tell them that Goa is free. What they don't know actually, that the army has surrendered in so many places. And immediately what occurred to me, I said, I would like to go up in the skies and announce that Goa is free so that everybody will know. He laughed. All right, he laughed. And next day, he called us again and he said, you wanted to go in the air, we are going to send you by plane. And we went in a plane. We hovered over Goa for about 2 hours. And we had thought, you see, that if we go and speak from the skies, who will hear us and understand us? So we prepared some leaflets in Portuguese and dropped those leaflets from the skies. So it was something novel for the people in Goa here, especially the young boys and the young people who are running on the roads and picking up the leaflets. We're telling them that Goa is free. And on the 19th of December, that's the morning, for the first time, the Portuguese flag was going to be brought down, is it not? So we were instructed by the general to hover over Goa first, and at 11 o'clock exactly, when the tricolor was be hoisted, to come and announce that Goa is free, to come just above the place and announce that Goa is free. So the Portuguese flag was brought down, and the Indian tricolor was flowing.
You came back to Goa once Goa was liberated. Tell me a little bit about your involvement as a lawyer in Goa.
At first, I did not take up law. I took up a job. I became the director of tourism. I worked there for about 6 years, more than 6 years. And then when the laws of Indian laws were promulgated in Goa, then I thought that I said, why should I not do law here? Thing which I had left in Bombay undone. So I took up law. And that time I was an inexperienced lawyer because I had not worked under anybody or whatever. So, and there was not much of Indian law. It was just been promulgated, you know. Portuguese law was not there. And the laws were quite different. Little by little, they were being promulgated. The CPC and all that was still continuing in Portuguese. But so it was all right. Well, anyway, I had my, what you may say, ambition fulfilled. That is all. And actually, though I took up law, because I had because I had worked for the government, and I saw that Goa had to be reconstructed, I felt that I should do more social work and do work for the people rather than for my profession. So I did not take my profession very seriously. It was just an addition to my personality.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the social work you were doing.
Well, I started a women's cooperative bank. Once I found that there was a lady who had given birth to a child, and she was crying. When I asked how she was, I was told that her husband has taken her Mangal Sutra to be pawned as they do not have money to pay the bill of the hospital. So it occurred to me as to how many women must be dependent on their men folk taking away their jewelry, pawning, pledging, etc. They don't even know where the jewels are, and they have to be without them. That is why she's crying instead of being happy having delivered a child. But it pierced my heart. And I decided that there must be more women like this, and we must do something to help. It is not enough for us. We're not affluent. I was not affluent, but there were people who were well-to-do with money, not poor like that. So we must do. So I gathered some people, women, and I said, let's contribute some money, make a capital, and start a cooperative. The bank gives us additional 20 times capital, and then we can tell and make it only for women, so that women themselves can come and place their jewels, know where it is, pay their money, pay their loan, and then take it back when they want. Let be independent. It's a sense of independence today. So I started a women's cooperative bank, which is still running.
Which is still running. Okay. So, okay.
It was man. I made all directors were women, all the staff were women, only women, and loans were given only to women.
Okay, you were recently felicitated by the Chief Justice of India. Can you tell me a little bit about that whole experience?
Why do you ask? You see, what is the experience? It was a great thing for me, no? The Chief Justice of India, and I'm an ordinary lawyer. I'm not a celebrated lawyer like all of you. So there's so many people like Kapil Sibal and all that. I can't stand before them. But anyway, that's what it is. So I was very happy. And I told the Chief Justice that I could never think of this day, the day I became an advocate. How could I imagine that the Chief Justice would felicitate me?
But he did.
Yes, he did, yes. And not only he did, all the Supreme Court judges were there. So many other judges were there, High Court judges. And well, when they heard my story, you see, then they all appreciated me. And more, not as a lawyer and just as ordinary freedom fighter, but the way I had ended my work as a freedom fighter also impressed them all.
Wonderful. I'm going to now switch to you as a person. It's amazing to find you at this age. I'm here with you in your house in Goa. You tell me you do your own cooking and you look after yourself. You don't have any full-time employees looking after you. You love. You are so cheerful. Tell me the secret of your success.
Have I ever been successful?
Laughing at the age of 101.
Look here.
Being able to communicate with me like this is success.
Society is like a mirror. You understand? I am what I am. It is what society sees me as. I cannot say anything about it.
Having lived such a long and eventful life, how do you feel about the India that you live in today?
Very, very disappointing.
Tell us why.
I cannot understand. I cannot understand how people can do things, talk things, and what you may say, undo things. Actually, we are now not only going backward, we are destroying what we had gained.
What do you mean by that? What do you see around you?
Well, with freedom, we got all the freedom. What freedom do we have today? We could counter the Portuguese. Rather the Portuguese and the British, isn't it? That's what we did. Can we say this against the government today? So, we have freedom of speech, but only to talk what others like to hear, not what we want to say.
Yes, and what is the, how do you think?
No, if you correct, sometimes what is wrong, what is right. But if you point it out, then you become hostile. How can it be? We should work for the common good, is it not? We should first be human. We should respect other humans in every way. Here we are told to respect dogs and animals. Why should we not give better treatment? We are giving worse treatment to the human beings. For what sake? For which God? Has anybody seen God?
So you feel this country is no longer what we call secular, right? Where everyone is treated equally.
Of course, there is no equality now. There is no, what you may say, there is no, see, some are patriots, some are not patriots, whatever they may be. But I think that we are, we are not exactly free today.
Wonderful. But anyway, despite the fact that you feel we are not free, I find you cheerful, I find you happy, I find you independent, and that is what has inspired me and led me to come to you and talk to you today. I thank you very much for the time that you've given me.
I thank you, and I've opened my heart to you, whatever in me.
For which I'm very grateful to you.
I don't mind what people think, but I'm very frank, and I think what should be said should be said.